Yo, what is up, Bitcoiners? Welcome back to the Build a Mind podcast. I'm your host, TrevorBello, and I'm excited today to bring you a guest named Jake Scanlan. Jake is an interesting guy. I've met him a couple of times at a few different places. The first time I met him was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, when I did my first Build a Mind boot camp. And that's actually where I got involved with Scott Offord and started the Build a Mind podcast and all that stuff. So Jake and I go way back. A couple of years ago, we met, and Jake is definitely very in the weeds about Bitcoin mining and how it kind of interplays with the way that energy and the dynamics of the world work. So it's definitely above my head. Goes way above my head with a lot of the things that he discusses. So today we're going to try to keep it very high level. We're going to try to make sure that everybody understands exactly what he's talking about. And if you want to find out more, you'll be able to go to the link in the description of the show notes or the show note description of the show and find a little bit more out about the Hashpower Academy and what he's doing over there. So a little bit of background on Jake real quick before we get into the podcast. So Jake Scanlan studied engineering from high school through college, then zeroed in on aerospace engineering at university right after he worked at Airbus in France in a central risk management role, figuring out that the technical and financial risks from every team, which could make the plans fall out of the sky, and communicating that for the business side decision makers. So that didn't last for him. After COVID-19, he plunged fully into Bitcoin and has been fully immersed in mining ever since. So definitely, like I said, much smarter than I am. So I'm excited to kind of pick his brain a little bit about what he's doing over at the Hashpower Academy. This is kind of a venture that he started not too long ago, actually, right about the time that we met back in Milwaukee a couple of years ago. So super excited to have this conversation today. And if you guys like it, please don't hesitate to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share it out to all your friends and neighbors, and let us know how you're doing. So with that, we're going to get into the episode. But real quick, before we do that, I'm going to tell you about the Mastermind Club, and then we're going to hop right into the episode with Jake Scanlan.
Join the Mastermind Club, a weekly gathering of Bitcoin miners sharing insights to help you optimize or build your mining business. Our community fosters open discussion and collaboration, connecting you with experts who can help you overcome challenges and find solutions faster. Every other week, we host the Mastermind Deep Dive, where industry leaders delve into the financial, operational, and optimization hurdles faced by miners like you. Brought to you by Bitcoin Mining World.
Alrighty, everybody. As always, I made it super easy. Oh, other side. Go to the QR code down there at the bottom of the screen or the link in the show notes to join the Mastermind Club. This is a free club. It's a Telegram group. It's a weekly in-person or weekly video session where you can join, high-level engineers, Bitcoin miners, people who are really deep in the weeds of the Bitcoin mining ecosystem, and pick their brains, learn about Bitcoin mining from everything from like a pleb level over where I'm at, all the way up to a large industrial scale miner. If you're looking to get into Bitcoin mining and you don't know where to start, this is a perfect opportunity for you. So definitely scan that QR code. All right, and without further ado, we're going to get into the episode with Jake Scanlan. All right, what is up, guys? We are here with Jake Scanlan in the house. Jake, welcome back to the Build a Mind podcast. I know we've tried this once or twice already, but we're gonna give it the old 1-2 again, and kind of see how it goes. So let's start from the very top, because I'm sure my audience has no idea who you are. You're not super active on X and in the Build a Mind world. So just give us the rundown. I kind of, in the brief description of who you are, I kind of gave him a brief synopsis of your engineering background. But out of high school, out of university, how'd you get into Bitcoin? What was your field of study? And then we'll dive into the Hashpower Academy and what you've been doing recently.
Right. Well, how's it going? So where did I start with Bitcoin? I think the best place to start would probably be, I was studying engineering at university, aerospace engineering, and halfway through, you're sort of at this juncture of, do you go and work in industry for a year, try and find a job or a placement, or continue on and get a job after university? And you're looking at salaries and all these sorts of things, and it's just that the salary was not matching kind of the technical complexities of the trade. And fast forward, that's just one piece of the journey of forming that mindset. And during university, got into Bitcoin like everyone does from a financial lens, learning about money, learning about the financial system, the banking system. And coming from an engineering perspective, one of the things I can offer is that most engineers don't end up going into engineering. They go into finance, they go into the legal side of things as well. And I liked aerospace for the travel aspects, but I did go straight into industry. I went to work for Airbus in risk management from a central position. So I had all the technical stuff on one side coming up to me, and then go and sit in meetings with the heads of all different departments where they want to see things in more financial terms. And that really has carried across to what I do today. But the premise where I'm going with this is, I wanted more for myself. I wanted to earn more. I wanted to find something that paid the bills, so to speak. And Bitcoin started with just some trading. And 2017, the altcoin era obviously captured a lot of people's interest. And through that journey, I was trying like to build trading algorithmic systems, and it just wasn't going to plan. And then it sort of, this combination of learning about mining, getting involved from just hosting, coming from aerospace and engineering, looking at the risk management side, it all just clicked. And learning about the energy side of the Bitcoin network, which you very much allude to as well, with the compute side as well, and the heating side. Yeah, so that's the sort of direction I think we can go with the story, really.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, I like the background. It really does help. What I'm curious about, before we really dive into Hashpower Academy and the energy side of Bitcoin mining, you talk about that moment where it clicked for you, where Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining made sense. From an engineering perspective, like what was that thing that made it click? Because most of my audience, we're not engineers, we're DIYers, we fuck around and find out kind of situation. We're not engineers, and engineers have a different mindset when they approach a problem and they kind of devise a solution. So can you kind of explain that to me?
I can boil it down to, I've got a brain that I like to look at every type of system, whether it's biological, natural system, social system. Just apply the word system like people apply the word Bitcoin these days. But it's the risk management aspect is also, how can something break? Or in aerospace, how can the plane fall out the sky? How can you prevent it? So it's coming from the problem, addressing the problem by figuring out a solution, whether that's designing something, making something, what level it needs to operate on when it comes to the miner, the fact you can apply it to everything. But I think where Bitcoin mining clicked was, as much as I felt like I understood an amount when it came to the financial aspects of Bitcoin, for example, all of the blockchain aspects of Bitcoin, the software, the nodes, and how it all functions, that's a whole rabbit hole in itself, right? Mm-hmm. And even if you can understand the finance bits, if you don't get the technological bits, there's pieces missing, I think is the best way I can summarize it. There's gaps of knowledge that I myself and others miss when they've not learned about the full energy, technology, and financial areas of Bitcoin. And so for me, it boils down to this: with Bitcoin, it's a system which I've not figured out how it will break, and I think that's why I have chosen for it to be the place to store my time and energy. It's a system that is designed to be an information system on the internet that's thermodynamically secure from the quote unquote real world. And yeah, that opens up a whole palette of different discussion areas. But yeah, it's a system that is designed to not break, a system to constrain humans' attempts to pervert money. And we've just seen that throughout history. And yeah, that's one key aspect of it. But just that intrigue that it's so early. We are so early in the process of Bitcoin being some base layer for things to be built on top, for things to be built underneath. And yeah, I think that's really where we're at with things. That there's a lot of exciting problems to solve, and yeah, that journey is going to be incredibly exciting for our age group as well.
Yeah, what's curious to me is, I've spoken with so many people, and while again, we're not engineers, we're not all engineers. Some of us are engineers and some of us are wicked smart. It seems like we all come to Bitcoin, not all of us, maybe most of us come to Bitcoin, the conclusion of Bitcoin as being like unbreakable. And maybe we come in a little bit hesitant, a little doubtful, but as we do more research, as we, kind of work through our 10,000 hours, we come to find that it is this unbreakable system. And, whether or not you have that engineering background or the career background of, keeping planes in the sky, or not, like me, I'm just a guy who's trying to live a decent life and I'm a contractor, blah, 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 blah. But understanding the fundamentals of how Bitcoin is an unbreakable system for ungovernable money makes a lot of sense. So it's curious to me how, like, the way that you explained it, the way that you described it, coming back to the engineering perspective, makes a lot of sense, linking that back to, previous episodes I've had.
Just even to what you just said, there's incentives for all different things out there. When we make something the money, there's an incentive to go and make more of it. Bitcoin is issued and settled in transaction fees to those that build energy systems now. And for the example of yourself, you're incentivized to help add value to other people in society, whether it's Bitcoin mining, education, heating systems, the educational journey of those two areas. You are an individual within a hive of all different people, and Bitcoin creates this ability to act independently but collectively add value. And every computer we plug in is raising the value of Bitcoin as a whole subject area for that, beyond it just increasing difficulty and the security of that. But yeah, we're all participants in a system that coordinates us at a level where we're not controlled, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We're just led with incentives. And so, yeah, you're doing work for yourself and work for the network at the same time, in a way that if we scale that to the whole world, we scale multiplanetary. That's another interesting direction that you can go with it. But yeah, no, to the individual, it's education. I, through Bitcoin, learned about finance and economics in a way that I never did before the subject of Bitcoin came in. There's people having families because they see a clarity in their financial path to afford things in a world that if you exchange your time and energy for government IOU tokens, that by the time you spend them, after all the layers of taxes, they buy you less. The idea of getting a house, there's just levels to the progress and clarity that people can get by just preserving their time and energy in a better system. And that brings it back to the engineering side of things, is to what Michael Saylor says as well. It's engineered money. And I think that's why it clicks with a lot of technical people that also break past the sort of individual perspectives they have about Bitcoin. There's a few very technical people that I know that almost like their own selves is their personal barrier to why they won't learn about it. But I believe if they sort of break past the ego of themselves, they might actually. Yeah, I don't know. It's everyone's different. Everyone approaches it in different ways, but it's interesting that we all seem to reach the same conclusion beyond the due diligence that we do for ourselves in learning. And it boils down to, it's just maths. Yeah.
Well, and I think it also has something to do with the fact that nothing is hidden within the Bitcoin ecosystem. Everything is in front of your face. I mean, it might be pseudonymously like secured or kind of separated. But if you do enough research, if you do enough background checking, like you can devise all the different parts of the system and figure out how it works. There's nobody, there's not a general or an overarching Federal Reserve or government that is controlling it, telling you, oh, don't pay attention to this. We've got this. We'll take care of it. And so, we can come to those conclusions. We can figure out, okay, well, if we save our time and money and our energy in this thing and we project that forward, we can, not work as hard, go further and faster, and live more quality lives. Something I actually said on a podcast recently that I was on, I likened exactly what you just said, but I likened it like to this. It's like we trade our energy, our life force, our time for money. And that money, when it is controlled by government, controlled by authorities that don't have your best interest at heart, or just controlled in general, that time becomes worthless. Therefore, your energy and your life force becomes worthless. And, that's probably why we see a lot of issues in the world arise, because people feel that they are intrinsically worthless. Whereas when you save that energy, that life force, that time in a money that cannot be debased, destroyed, stolen from you ad nauseum, then all of a sudden your life becomes worth living. And therefore, like, without even putting those 2 points together, people understand, like, hey, my life means something. And when I store my time and my energy in this thing, I can project that meaning forward. It's kind of a woo-woo way of saying exactly what you just said.
There's nothing bad about it. I was in El Salvador just recently. There's a couple of really interesting. I was in El Salvador. That's one thing we can delve into. But I did a talk at a place called Berlin, not Germany, in El Salvador. It's a mountain town, and there's, I think, 100+ places that accept Bitcoin as payment, and they've dollarized. So they have the same US dollars, and you go through the market and you'll hear $1 for buying things and stuff like that. And one of the things, everyone approaches the idea of a better life coming from, I need to be paid more. I need more money. I need to consume more of my time and energy to make more money, learn skills, raise that salary. But what takes it all away? It's your energy derived costs. Everything in the inputs to society is derived amounts of energy cost. And to the individual, your bills take all the money away. So you start earning more. Even people have lifestyle inflation. They get a pay rise and then they go on a big holiday, which is nice and memorable. But again, it's that same aspect of, we've got this. It's not just, I want to get paid more, but it's your costs that take it all away. So one of the things I ask people is, would you be happy with your energy bills being half the amount that they are today? Your food, your fuel, your electrical bill, your heating or hash rate heating, subsidize it. That it's two metrics that you have to keep track of what we're earning and taxes and bills and mouths to feed, but it's the energy derived costs that take all the money away. And that gap that we have of whatever's left is our savings. That's our wealth, because we compare that to our expenses to say, well, if I've got different numbers to what you earn and spend in the US, but if you have $12,000 of savings and you spend $2,000 a month, your wealth is 6 months. You can measure what amount of time you can stop and just spend, or you spend only $1,000 a month somehow, maybe in Latin America, and you've got a year's worth of time, so to speak. Now, where I was getting with that is I was making people aware that it's not just your income, but it's how can you remove cost from your life. And one of the main things I mentioned was say, hey, in El Salvador, they have net metering. So get some solar, because the electricity rate was like 25 cents. So if they had the ability to produce their own power, it's an upfront cost as one piece, but it's this ability to see not just where you can earn more with your salary, with what you do with your time, but removing energy derived costs in the process and widen that margin as much as possible. And it's the same with Bitcoin as well. You store your time and energy to make what you have keep going up compared to everything else expanding, because you're buying into fixed supply, planetary energy money units. And then mining gets involved on the energy side, scaling up the volume of energy use. And so different pieces in that. I'm sure you can ask questions.
Yeah, and it's just so crazy to me how people all around the world in different markets in different ecosystems are all coming to the same conclusion
Yeah,
through something as simple. I mean, I don't want to say simple. I don't really have another word for it, but something as simple as money.
yeah,
This medium of exchange that we all use to trade our time and our energy for goods and services, living a quality life.
yeah,
Simply breaks down to like what's the best form of that money and how can we utilize that to make our lives better. And going back to incentives, which you discussed earlier, is like when you use Bitcoin, you were incentivized to live like you by being incentivized to live a better, more quality life, you're actually making the Bitcoin system stronger, which in
yeah.
turn makes the lives better for other people around you. So I think it's so cool. And I'm curious, like the energy, not like the physical energy, but like the emotional energy around El Salvador. Like what was that like? What are the people like around there? What are their thoughts about Bitcoin? Like, are they open to it? Are they excited
Yeah.
about it? Are they kind of adverse towards it? Like, what's going on?
So the first thing that's interesting in the timeline is I went to El Salvador originally like 2 years before Bukele got into power. And I also would tell people that when I was in El Salvador, and they were surprised because they've seen and experienced since Bukele came in, the Bitcoin adoption aspects, it's signed into law, and essentially being this duopoly of the dollar and Bitcoin as legal tender. Now, when I explained to people that I went there before, the biggest problem with El Salvador was that they got the government collecting money and the cartels collecting money. So why would you open a business? Now, obviously, there was obviously people that would open businesses, and it was just danger. It was so the struggle there was possession is 9/10 of the law, and so this aspect of security is sort of fundamental. Now, what's happened since is anyone with association to those cartels all got locked up. The streets are free to grow and thrive. And all I saw on my second visit is the comparison of the first visit was empty streets to now busy streets, music, thriving commerce, construction everywhere. Because one of the quotes I've always said to people is you can observe the success of a city by the amount of cranes in the sky. That is, people choosing to invest and build. Now, that can go to the extreme of other countries that have overbuilt real estate, but different area of things. But no, it was growing, thriving, developing. And to that talk that I did in Berlin, El Salvador, there was an expat there that was saying, hey, if you'd come a year ago, this entire talk would have been like almost everyone would have been expats. Versus now, when I went there, it was almost everyone was El Salvadorian.
Mm-hmm.
So there is this aspect of how involved the idea of the government is. It's like, was it the government promoting it at the individual level? So some people were sort of querying that it was a government thing, and that was their sort of like, maybe not. But no, it was call it organic interest and insights of people that want to better their lives. They've seen that the government there had built a framework of security and commerce. There's all different areas of this, such as creating like markets all around the country for commerce to be in healthier environments, in buildings with sanitation that's of a better level than what the markets were before. So there's all different base level things that are being built now. And I would say of the flood of people that came to El Salvador, there's like, shall we say that the economic tourists have left. A lot of people that did come to El Salvador with the idea of Bitcoin, this and that, a lot of them left. And so now it's almost like it's in this, I don't want to say human level of like bear market building, but that's really what it's at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's all we're in that still in the same aspect of we're very early. They're still in that educational phase. But one of the main things that I personally want to do there is build a Bitcoin electricity grid. So the ability to produce power potentially on like a microgrid with a bunch of properties that would purchase the power at the rate of what we would mine with the power. So essentially, whatever we're earning in Bitcoin per kilowatt hour, that would be the same price for the electricity that people can consume power. Because what can allude to in further discussion is that energy and money essentially merge into the same thing, and compute power is that boundary layer between the two. Bitcoin mining.
Well, I mean,
there's some interesting,
so that's great to hear. As a dumb American who's never traveled abroad, you hear stories, and I like to hear firsthand accounts of like what's happening in other parts of the world and how people are reacting to Bitcoin. But it's interesting that you talk about energy and money as the same thing, and that's basically at the end of the day what it is. Whether you're a Bitcoin miner, literally turning energy into compute and then turning it into Bitcoin, or you're someone like me who is taking physical energy, my energy that I eat food, I turn it into energy, I go out, I work hard, and I make money, and I turn that money into Bitcoin. Like it's literally the same thing, it's just kind of different forms of it. And so I like this thing about Bitcoin. And you alluded to this earlier about learning more about the financial system, learning more about energy as a whole. It's happened to me too. The amount of knowledge that I've gained by learning about Bitcoin mining, and how it interplays with my world, my reality. I've learned so much about energy grids, where energy is derived from, where that energy goes. I've learned about the financial system, how money's created, where that money goes, and they're the same thing. They're just energy, which has no form or no static form. It changes. It's constantly mutating and going different places. So I think that's really interesting, and it's a point that I wanted to touch on. What are your thoughts on that? And then we'll get into Hashpower Academy.
I think BTC, the asset, the numbers moving around from it's just an accounting system for energy abundance. I think it creates a group of humans that want to actively build and participate on the energy side, finance world of storing it in a wallet. There's all different pieces of the puzzle of how little you want to be involved, and you're just using it as money. We get to a point in the future where it's, I believe, omnipresent, which is it's just the thing. And like there'll be some people fanatical about how a car works, the engine, the combustion process, or electrical cars or there's people that just want to get in the car and move from A to B, or someone that wants to turn the key and drive it themselves. There's levels to that experience, and I think we're such early in the process that I think we are all the early innovators of, even to what you said as well. But the idea of it being the educational phase, whether it's El Salvador, whether it's here, whether it's people in Wall Street, whether it's politicians, the whole scale of every type of human, every type of political leaning, the distribution is very much fair. The tail of the big wallets down to the very small wallets across different developing nations to the wealthiest nations, it's got the longest tail of distribution of assets, I believe. So we've got something that's neutral across many different vectors of society that you can observe. And if we're all building and developing towards a society where instead of printing the money to expand productivity, we go the other way around. We have constrained monetary units with the incentive to expand energy underneath. We just create a world that the money is deflationary, and the Keynesian economists will say, oh no, but if the money is going up in value, no one will spend it on anything. It's like, no, people step out of Bitcoin when they want to convert their time and energy into what they believe is a necessity to their life. We can't take it with us. So we're going to spend it on experience. Would I trade Bitcoin for a memorable event with family on a trip or something? Yes. Will I value the idea of spending it on healthy food because I know it's good for me and it's going to make me live longer potentially, instead of eating crap food? That we have these like micro decisions in our life, and Bitcoin just pivots us in our own selves towards necessity over excessive wants and greed. I always give the example of the massive amounts of wealth in real estate of someone that owns 10, 20, 100 properties. If they learn, okay, pricing all those properties in this new money called Bitcoin, just watching this trending chart down to zero and all those stories of like, my house used to be worth 400 Bitcoin. Now it's worth 1. It's like, that's the turning point, by the way. When the average house price across like medium average house prices in the US, and so we go like 250K, 300K, 500K in dollar terms, I think that there's such a unit account bias to one Bitcoin, whether you're coming in or comparing it. That would be the example of people going, well, why have I got all these properties? Let me distribute them out. So we've got a load of Bitcoiners with the necessity to go, hey, I want to own, live, and consume in one property, and I don't need excess.
Yeah.
But if we constrain the excess of society, so each individual is spending their time and energy on what they see as necessity, not one investor with 10 single family homes. No, one single family to each family home, because they all see one house as necessity. Those sorts of like pieces, I think, are just incredibly important, and they're going to come, and it's going to be enjoyable to watch as well.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that take, man. Like I have a buddy who he's getting into real estate. He's, buying a bunch of properties and stuff. And I've been trying to tell him, I'm like, man, like, I don't think this is the play. He's like, oh, you don't know. My family's invested in real estate for the last, 25 years. They've done great. And I'm like, great. They invested in real estate at the time where investing in real estate was the move. But once people realize that investing in real estate is going down in Bitcoin terms, it's no longer the storage of the asset, not medium of exchange, but I'm forgetting the
store of value is
store of value. That's the one. So
I mean,
as people realize that it's no longer a store of value because it's going down in Bitcoin terms, they're going to be like, oh shit, I could have just bought Bitcoin. And that has huge implications, because all of a sudden, instead of people like putting their time and their energy into this house that is depreciating, in like, it's a depreciating asset,
repairs,
exactly, insurance, taxes,
won't leave. It's like,
exactly. Like, I tried to explain that to him, and he just doesn't get it. But that's because he's looking at it from a fiat mindset of like, it's going up in value in fiat terms, and that's just the wrong way to look at it.
Tell him he's a frog in the slow boiling
water.
You could say to him, well, why didn't you invest in the Zimbabwe stock market? They did 900% returns last year. It's like, maybe it's because you also have to adjust for inflation as well. Yeah. And when you don't, taking the extreme example of hyperinflating currency. So you see these massive returns in the stock market where all those dollars are flooding, Zimbabwe dollars flooding to. But it's the exact same thing with currencies that only inflate 10% a year, like the pound or the dollar. Mm-hmm. Or the M2 money supply to house prices. You're just treading water with the money printer. Congrats. But there's the thing, it's everyone's choice. But even back to the idea of what will people are going to hoard their Bitcoin for their entire lives? Not necessarily. I think it will rotate. There'll be people rotating out into what they see as necessity. But if people start voting with their money to buy organic, healthy, or homegrown produce, and we are creating a wealth class that rotate their money out into healthy things and system services and construction that's designed for longevity. And the key comparison for this is the gold standard. All different countries had different uses, monetary relationships with gold, but I always use the example of classical music and the giant, beautiful buildings in the big European cities. That was all financed on a gold standard, where the money had a very constrained issuance rate. It was scarce, so people wanted to hold it. Great. And then they would want to spend it on things that were going to last. So I do theorize, and I've got the idea for myself, is that we will see we will see people wanting to rotate their money, their time, and their energy into things that last, that low time preference. And fiat, even culturally, is just, it's not worth, it's losing value by the day. And even the situation with, I think they've got to print another excessive amounts of trillion, that even the improvements that they were trying to do, on Elon was trying to do, is a rounding error compared to the fat of government spending, and that inefficient conversion of they're creating money to try and create productivity. But Bitcoin does it the other way around. You create the productivity, the energy, the inputs to society, electricity for grids. You create the productivity, you get paid money. You can recycle that excess wasted energy where it's abundant and cheap into money of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin makes productivity first priority, and you get rewarded in planetary 21 million unit constrained monetary units. Like productivity to make money versus make money to try and create productivity. And it seems like a lot of money falls into other hands in that fiat process. So yeah, I think there's an exciting amount of stuff going into the future with Bitcoin, and yeah.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more, man. Like you really hit the nail on the head right there. And what I think is interesting, and this is going to kind of cue us into the Hashpower Academy, is education. You know, we get it. You and I get it. We see it for what it is. We see how the world is moving. We have this idea of what Bitcoin is going to do for society, for value in the world. From, you know, it's 2025 right now, but as we project ourselves into the future 10, 15, 20 years, we see how this is going to change. But we can't change the hearts and minds of the citizens without educating them first. And so, you know, here at the Build a Mine podcast, we're all about educating people on Bitcoin mining and how Bitcoin is this grand thing that, you know, is this energy monetary unit, blah, blah, blah. So I want to start with get into the Hashpower Academy. You know, what incentivized you after 2020, after you did your stint in engineering for the aerospace company? What incentivized you to start Hashpower Academy? And then we'll dive into what it is.
Okay. Well, I had getting into mining, I was noticing all of the issues with the hosted mining model, which is these you got X amount of customers and they each own individual machines. And so I started with this initial group of very small group of investors, and I started accounting who owned what in a hash rate amount. And that developed into a business that we can allude to in a different video, which is I'm trying to get everyone accessible financial access to Bitcoin mining, because financial incentives are like the best educational incentives. You're going to learn about something if you're earning from it. And that's exactly what Bitcoin done from a financial lens. But through that process, and being a very technical person, reaching out to investors to scale said business, I went straight into the technicals, and there's like so many years of R&D for what is now called terahash.finance. That process developed many years of educational materials. I was trying to explain the thing that I wanted to build, and it's soon to be launched. But from that process, I was just endlessly creating lots of educational materials. And so it was about time that I started. The drawing board question is, okay, I'm going to write a course or an educational thing about Bitcoin. Where do you start? And where do you start? It's like, there's all these subject areas of many different keywords, many different topics. Where do you start? And I felt like, from the mining aspect of things, I felt like the history of money is where a lot of people start with teaching Bitcoin. It's the right way to approach the journey, problem, solution of money, all the monetary problems, and then coming up to Bitcoin. But it never explained or supported learning about the difficulty adjustment, the network hash rate, the fee market, all the different software side of things, the propaganda of Bitcoin's waste of energy. It's not a waste if it's being shifted online. But so what I chose to do was I started with energy, because whether you read religious scripture or scientific textbooks, they all start with either Big Bang or Let There Be Light. And energy is like fundamental to economics, religious aspects, scientific aspects. Doesn't matter where you go, that giant fireball in the sky tends to be part of the discussion.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I started with an educational process to learn absolutely everything you can about Bitcoin, every subject area, how they all connect together in a simple way, starting with energy, just how we produce it, why we produce it, and then it delves into the electricity grids, and then it delves into the computers, the miners consuming that power, all the different heating applications, cooling systems, and then so you got those sort of three physical areas of Bitcoin, and then you go to the digital side, the hash power, the computational power produced by the miners. What does it do? It's adding blocks to the chain in every different subject area there. Big rabbit hole, as we know. And then that last bit at the end, the production and issuance of Bitcoin and the settlement of transactions through earning fees. So you go from the energy side, the technology, different types of power, renewables, non-renewables, the carbon aspect of things, to the commodity of energy, electricity. And then you go to the technology of mining, compute aspects, and then the commodity of Bitcoin mining, hash power. And then you go to the technology of Bitcoin and finance, which would be the blockchain, the settlement space for finance of the future, to the commodity, Bitcoin. So yeah, if you go through the whole chain and with basic maths connecting it all together, it just clicks. There's something about it. People watch stuff on the academy and that course on the website that's free, and it all just clicks. But the most important part there is people have all different interests, whether it's a business interest, an investment interest, a heating system interest. They want to do it all themselves, sort of thing. But having a framework, that's what I like to call it. It's an educational framework of the entire network taught in a linear series, but actually a circular system. That allows you to then address learning about network hash rate, address learning about the difficulty adjustment. I think that's the once the difficulty adjustment has really clicked for you, it's all fair game at that point. But stitching it all together allows you to really go in depth with every subject area where you have at least the fundamental knowledge of every piece.
Yeah, instead of going an inch deep and a mile wide, you're really kind of going a mile deep and like 5 feet wide. You know, it's this idea of building a proper foundation before you start to build up walls. Because if you start to build a wall without the right foundation, you're going to build a wall that crumbles over time.
Well, it's just missing gaps. If you start going into Bitcoin with the history of money, and then the idea of learning about mining, and this is why you get the comparative difference of the views or the engagement or even the investment interest. If you ask 100 Bitcoiners, how many of you are mining? I could probably with 100% confidence say it's less than 10, and with like a 90% confidence say it's less than 5. It's probably about 2 or 3, and that's being generous. So like of the 100 people out there in the world, 2 or 3 of them are in Bitcoin maybe. And of that 2 or 3, you can't divide it down any more than that. But Bitcoin mining is a niche of a niche, but it teaches you the fundamental 4 base layers with blockchain and Bitcoin on the top. And I've got a video. It's like Bitcoin is just the tip of the iceberg. Everything underneath the blockchain is the depth of knowledge that you do need to learn. Because if you're coming at Bitcoin from an investment stance, from finance, Wall Street, real estate, if you don't understand the fundamental aspects of the energy money by studying the energy and compute side, you're just in dollar world, and things will happen with Bitcoin, and you may not have a full grasp as to why. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just important. But the main aspect is the education is there, the palette of things to learn is there, and then you can go into detail with every different area that you may wish to particularly learn about.
Mm-hmm.
But the key quote I can tell people is the big players are going to gobble up the last of every Bitcoin that's available. The last 1 million Bitcoin is afforded to those that build energy systems. That can be as small as a single rig in your house as a space heater, or a few rigs as a water heating system, to a microgrid of a bunch of solar as a community, all the way up to the scale of your own mining sites. Like but the whole point is, all of those pieces, you need some aspect of producing energy in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Because we will see more and more of the network being turned into heating systems where they're not economically mining. They're not trying to buy power cheap to mine at a higher rate, that those older machines can be part of existing businesses and create cost reductions where their use of the heat from the miners, as you're very familiar to, is just to keep things in a greenhouse warm, increase the crop yields, to have it as you're a landlord and you've got heating system from Bitcoin mining in the basement. You've got tenants that are just paying you a flat heating bill, so you're earning Bitcoin as a secondary revenue stream, or a community. You've got a lake house or something like that, and you've got your little hash rate hot tub set up, or you've got some solar battery combo. No one's there. You've just got a full battery. You plug a miner in there, and when you're not there, your energy is flowing into your wallet. And when you are there, your energy is being used because you're there and enjoying the time with your family. So Bitcoin, the mining bit, just plugs in this system that stitches you to both the energy and financial opportunities with Bitcoin. But again, that last million Bitcoin is locked in blocks into the future for the next 100 plus years, with most of it over the next 10 years. And it's getting distributed to those that build energy systems, and the baseline of that, producing your energy, whether it's small little solar setup to your own power station.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can be on that scale. And so that is the inevitable fact of the last million Bitcoin, with the rest being gobbled up by finance. And finance will eventually realize this as well.
Yeah, and the downstream effect of people building their own energy systems, whether it's a microgrid or a macro grid, we become more prosperous people. You know, I was just up in Alaska for Bitcoin Alaska in June or July, and I'm staying out at this cabin, and it was a beautiful cabin. But over the last 25 years, you know, this gentleman, he built the cabin, he built the property, he's been building it out, but he has access to a strong enough river that he built a small hydro facility. And that facility is actually, because they're way out of town, so the power for his entire home, his entire homestead, is actually powered by this hydro facility. The problem being is that there are plenty of times during the year where there's excess power that, you know, he can't just shut down the system. He has to divert that power somewhere. Otherwise, it overloads the system and causes degradation. So what did he do before Bitcoin mining, before he learned about what Bitcoin miners can do? He literally was heating his basement with these electric mats, you know, so he's sending probably like 3 to 5 kilowatts of power to these mats that are just kind of heating his foundation, but he's not getting paid to do that. Whereas now he's learning how he can integrate Bitcoin miners into that same exact
amazing
infrastructure, but get paid as a subsidy on the back end. And, you know, you extrapolate that out, just exactly what you're saying. You extrapolate that out to bigger systems or all around the world. And now all of a sudden people are taking that, what was used to be wasted energy, and turning it into something that can be then used for prosperity, if that makes sense. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know.
It's Bitcoin mining allows you to upload energy onto the internet, and it converts it into something where it preserves over time. I always say, you know, electricity and how you produce it is the energy aspect. The mining is the space side of things, that and that medium of exchange internally to the network, medium of energy exchange, of converting physical raw power into digital timeless value that you could then convert back. Because the future on the grid scale of things is, if you got a miner, and we'll dollarize it for now, if you got a miner earning 15 cents a kilowatt hour, he's going to want to buy anything below that rate and sell power above that rate. So what do you think the future price of energy is going to be? It's going to be Bitcoin per kilowatt hour at the average efficiency of the network. And that just means that there's also the incentives not just to produce energy, but produce chips. The technology side of this is there's two incentive directions here. And obviously, I don't think we're going to get down to the level of individuals producing their own chips anytime soon. It's a big boy game. But the energy abundance side of things of this is, yeah, if Bitcoin creates a path, an inevitable journey for the old machines of the network to continually distribute out into systems at the individual level, we are decentralizing Bitcoin into every house and home. If you go in at the energy level of having mining as that perfect consumer of power to produce money with energy systems which cost money to produce power, it's that perfect fundamental circular economy of Bitcoin, which fosters the growth and scale out to the point where we all have our own energy systems. And we're building a society of people that want to build those sorts of systems, or even, I think it serves the optimal size that Bitcoin serves is the village level. I think we have some aspect of community being built through Bitcoin. I think there's quite a lot of Bitcoiners that have the dream of the citadel, the community of people of like mind that want to eat healthy things grown there locally. And if we're all recycling our excess energy into the same revenue rate at a global level, it means trade can happen through goods and services priced in Bitcoin, not through finance, but through the energy cost to create things, because we recycle the excess into Bitcoin. That's the unit of account phase of if I believe that when merchants understand their costs, so like for example, if the El Salvador thing, and I explained this to them, I said, why would a merchant want to accept Bitcoin? Because, okay, I sell you something, you give me Bitcoin, but I want to go and buy more of these. They're dollarized, so I have to go and exchange it, and these horrible commissions and fees. And so the use of Bitcoin to a merchant is they want seamless medium of exchange. They don't want to have to convert it to go and resupply. So if we have costs in Bitcoin, I want to accept Bitcoin because I can go and pay my costs. So the business cycle of sell you a phone, buy another one, sell you, or not the phone, but energy bills, or the electric economy that Elon's building. Everything is getting electrified. So one of the first things that will be priced in Bitcoin is transportation, because electric cars will be going to charge in places where, what is a car charging station? It's a business selling power. You go and plug mining into that site, and there's a business idea for people that can reach out to me if they want to get involved, which is you're selling power at the base rate of, easy numbers, 15 cents a kilowatt hour, because the Bitcoin network is paying you that. Do you want a car to come in and charge and pay you any less than 15? No. So you're going to switch machines off to sell the power to the car that comes in to charge. And so Bitcoin per kilowatt hour becomes the electricity rate that starts Bitcoin unit of account. Mm-hmm. And then if taxi drivers or automated cars driving all around are paying their energy costs in a quantity of Bitcoin, what will they want to be paid? They want to be paid Bitcoin. So yeah, I think we step into a Bitcoin society through energy systems developing Bitcoin as a unit of account, through the costs to create things in Bitcoin. Because then if we have costs to create things in Bitcoin, market prices can be defined on top. And then that's free market competition. And then something I want to do on my platform side of things is to create Bitcoin bonds and fixed rate contracts for things on top. So people can lock in a certain rate of Bitcoin per kilowatt hour as the example there, as one example. And yeah, it just creates a financial layer in the compute aspects with Bitcoin on one side and energy on the other. Yeah, lots of fun things.
There's a lot to unpack there, and I mean, I'm sure this is exactly what students will learn in the Hashpower Academy, and it helps to kind of set that scene for them going to the future.
The energy economy, the electric economy, the information age. Yeah.
As we start to wrap up here, I want to give you the opportunity to kind of shill Hashpower Academy and
Yeah.
what people can expect. I think we've kind of given them a good understanding of what they can expect if they join the class. How can people join the class? How can people get involved? And what are the costs associated with it,
Free.
etc. It's
Well,
free, even better.
yeah, I'll explain that the ideas there. So the Hashpower Academy takes you on that journey with the free course on the website, hashpower.academy. And that just takes you through a journey in basic form with some videos and text through the entire chain of the electricity into the computer, into the hash rate that makes the blocks, which makes the Bitcoin. And every story that's really important to tell of renewables versus non-renewables, grid stability, and these miners are going, well, hang on, the price of power is the volatility aspects. So if we have more renewables coming online, and the volatility of, we're putting nature in control of when we produce power, but that's different to when you get in the house and want to turn on the TV, the microwave, and everything else. So if we've got now volatility in power supply and power demand, something else needs to step in the middle and provide stability and dampen and absorb economically that volatility, and that's what mining does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing what the blockchain does with the infrequency of when blocks are produced. It's constantly observing how many of these computers are online to bring stability to the rate of issuance of this money of 21 million Bitcoin. And so Hashpower Academy takes you through the whole journey. And what people tend to be enlightened with when it comes to learning about this new electric economy that we're stepping into. And the joke I always say to people is like, you rush in the house with your phone that's not charged and you plug it into the power and connect to the Wi-Fi, these two systems that fundamentally sustain every aspect of society now. Bitcoin literally empowers us to build those systems out. So the stuff that I want to add to the Academy as well is going to be Bitcoin businesses, different stories of endless amounts of different types of businesses, like the incentives in Africa to build energy systems where they don't have them. And there's incentives to go and say, well, hey, if people are going to accept Bitcoin as payment, they're going to need internet. So there's a branch in the telecommunications side of things. There's a branch to provide micro electricity grids, light in the streets. Those are the sorts of things being built in all manner of places in the world. The different types of power production. I mentioned I was just in Midland, Texas, and growing up, I had an education where people just bashed anything that emitted carbon. And it was very interesting actually to go out into the oil field and see what it's like, see what they do and how they do it, and how fundamental energy is to everything of society. And then yeah, people come out the other end of these sorts of things, learning about Bitcoin in completely new and interesting ways. And people are reaching out from all different walks of life, wanting to get involved. If you want to get into hosted mining, there's an avenue there. If you want a little Bitax mini miner to connect it in the power, connect it up to the pool, and see energy flowing into this little rig and flowing sats into your digital wallet. Like, you learn so much just from that small process. To wanting to get in at scale. Someone reached out that was from Guyana that wants to do all manner of different power sources and a business use case to dry wood. So kiln drying wood with hash rate heat, just hot computers like a gaming PC to dry wood. So it's taking costs out of his existing business. But just that education and awareness that this was possible is obviously something that learning about the energy and mining sides of things provided him. So yeah, there's all different walks of life. People come from all different journeys, and Bitcoin fits in different things that they didn't realize were possible. And that's the exciting part, is the Hashpower Academy gets to tell that story. And yeah, in the future, I think there will be a paid course. The idea for me is to design a course of the Hashpower Academy, but massively expanded with way more detail and engagement, but in a way that it's timeless. I want the idea of someone watching it in 100 years' time and it to be essentially the exact same. Yeah, that's the idea of it.
Well, keep working on it, man. Like it's exciting, and I think this education is what people need, especially right now in a time where education is so hard. Like good education is so hard to come by. So I'll
Yeah,
definitely have that linked in the show notes so people can go there and they can just partake in
wicked.
your course. Where can people find you on socials? And then I got a question for you before we wrap up.
All right. Socials, X, Jake Scanlan, Hashpower Academy. Main one is the YouTube. That'll expand across other different video places. And then, well, the key thing is the platform as well. So it's most people of the world don't have $5,000 to $10,000. So the educational journey opens up financial opportunity as well. I want people to be able to access mining even down to a single terahash in ownership, not in a hash rate contract, in ownership of fractional amounts of compute. And what that does is it means that the people of Latin America, Southeast Asia, and Africa that may not have $5,000 to $10,000, how are they ever going to get into mining in a way that they can learn about it, but the economic access isn't there? So I want to start something that is a journey to get to a whole machine. Burn the fractional shares, and we'll send you an electric heater in the post if that's what you want. So yeah, there's all manner of learning, earning, and scaling that I can really provide someone that reaches out.
Yeah, absolutely. So audience, definitely reach out to Jake on those socials on the Hashpower Academy. And like I said, I'll make it super easy for you guys. All the links will be in the show notes. Jake, before I let you go, last question. What does Bitcoin mean to you?
Energy abundance, sovereignty. I think, yeah, energy abundance, but that is it provides sovereignty. I think we come back to a society that I mean, I wish to build a world that we probably won't experience at its prime. And I think we go multiplanetary because we have incentives to build systems that expand life. And yeah, abundance, but in a way that is sovereign to the individual.
That's a great answer. Most people come in and they say freedom and hope, which I agree with, but energy abundance, that's a really good answer to that question.
Yeah.
So Jake, I really appreciate your time today.
Thank
And
you.
I hope that, things go well in the future with Hashpower Academy and all your other endeavors. You're brilliant, you're a genius, and a lot of the things that you tell me go over my head, but this one made sense, man. This one made sense. This was clear to me, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time to distill your thoughts and your ideas down into
Yeah.
a form that my 80 IQ brain could understand. So I
Not,
appreciate it.
it's not like that. It's yeah. I think I've had more time to talk to all different manner of people out there and explain things in different ways because it's all education, and I'm still on my learning journey as well. There's so many things that I don't know, and what my mission, even with the academy, is to learn something and then expand that educational thing to the world, whether it's going to Midland and doing some form of natural gas thing and seeing how we can mitigate carbon, mitigate methane, yes, burning and releasing carbon as the example of something that is going to help the planet, but also help people in the process.
Yeah. No, I agree with it, man. The incentive is there. Keep on working on it. So, all right, man.
Yeah, more to come. Talk soon.
Yeah, we're gonna close this one out. Stick around. Don't exit out when I hit end. So audience members, thank you for listening to today's episode of the Build a Mind podcast. You know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we will see you on the next episode. Peace out.